What's going on, guys? As we all know, being a top 10 pick in the NFL draft is one of the most coveted goals in college. It's the one thing that you always achieve to get. It can set sky-high standards, however, which are extremely hard to overcome, and it doesn't help that these guys are also drafted to the worst teams in the league, meaning that they often don't have much help to help them achieve said goals. Today, we're going to look through the past 10 draft classes, and we are going to be picking out the worst of the top 10 drafted, and we are going to talk about them in their career. So let's get into it. Starting off, we have the hardest year to judge, the 2024 NFL Draft. I say it's the hardest because we haven't seen their true potential and have only seen like 1 year from them, if that. Looking only 1 year of gameplay, and sadly, I do have to say it is J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy was drafted out of Michigan in a trade with the New York Jets after winning the national championship. It was a controversial pick because QBs like Bo Nix had been on the board, and McCarthy had thought to have been carried by his team and surrounding cast. Before the season started, McCarthy tore his meniscus, ending his season, and because of that, and because he hasn't played a snap in the regular season, and nobody else is truly horrible yet, I'm going to give him this, I guess you could say, honor? He's in a video, I guess. Next up is the 2023 draft class. Now, this top 10 is very interesting because they are only in their second year, and each of them have been looking way better or way worse, especially with the top 2 picks, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, who've each, respectively, looked really bad or really good in the end of the season. But my choice for the worst is going to be Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida, picked with the 4th pick. Richardson was a risky pick to begin with, as he had only started 24 games in college. In those games, he showed off his masked physical potential, which is why he was picked. The Colts were desperate, and Richardson was one of the best QB physical prospects ever. At the Combine, he had a 99 physical grade, which was first among quarterbacks, and an 82 Combine grade, which was third among quarterbacks. In his first season, however, he only played 3 full games before getting injured in the 4th, and in those, he didn't play well, throwing for 59.6% completion and 577 yards with a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. It doesn't help in this case that Gardner Minshew played well as his backup for the season and almost led the team into the playoffs if it wasn't for one dropped catch at the end of the season. This year's been another disappointment for Richardson, missing 6 games due to injury or bench and almost setting the record for the worst completion percentage in a season. He also threw for 8 touchdowns and a whopping 12 interceptions. While his 1,800 yards are good and some of his plays are some of the best we've seen all year, he still has been extremely inconsistent, either throwing nuclear balls while on his knees 70 yards downfield or missing a 5-yard throw, getting it intercepted. Now, the 2022 draft class is absolutely stacked, and that doesn't stop with the top 10, who is already filled with 3 Pro Bowlers, being Aiden Hutchinson, Sauce Gardner, and Derek Stingley. While not everybody is incredible, one sticks out as the worst with no near to beat. The man that I'm talking about is the hated giant Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama, who's picked with the 7th in the draft. Not only is Neal bad, but he's also hated by his own fan base because of a controversy where he called all of Giants fans sheep. Probably not a way to stick around, especially when you're already one of the worst offensive linemen in the entirety of the league. You are right now watching a bad, you know how bad you have to be for you to be young and have a highlight reel of how bad you are? Like, that is, impressive. He was recently trending again, however, for one of the worst pass block attempts that I've ever seen, where in the end he was running towards his own quarterback. So, next year we might see him on the D-line. I think he is by far one of the worst top 10 picks that we will ever cover today, and it is not a competition. He is one of the main reasons that the Giants QBs keep getting hurt and why nobody wants to play for them and why they are in an infinite QB carousel since Eli Manning. I'm just going to keep this one short and sweet like Sabrina and say that he is poo-poo caca in simple terms. Going to 2021, the top 10 drafted has some of the highest highs and lowest lows that we've seen yet. They have Jamar Chase, Patrick Surtain, Penei Sewell, and more. On the other hand, however, they have Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State, who was the 3rd pick by the 49ers. He was supposed to be a replacement for Jimmy Garoppolo when he got injured, but then Lance himself got hurt only a little bit later. The next year, he was the starter, ready to find himself, only before getting hurt after only 2 games. Later in that season, the last pick in the draft came in as quarterback as the last-ditch option and balled out. That man is Brock Purdy. Purdy proceeded to be an elite quarterback, putting up great numbers and leading his team to a Super Bowl just the very next year. Lance was then traded to the Cowboys in the offseason, where he has remained the third string. Even though their starter got hurt, he was still on the bench and only played 1 or 2 games, not even getting full play time. Out of his 12 career games, he has a 56.6% completion rate and 1,300 yards with a 6-4 touchdown to turnover rate. Overall, he's been extremely injured, and when he does play, he's not even that good. The COVID draft was a very hard decision for me. This batch is not as skilled as the others, although they do have great quarterbacks, but 2 people in the top 10 were a tough pick. My decision was between Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson. My final decision, however, was Jeff Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State, picked with the 3rd in the draft. Okudah has been passed around from team to team, being through 3 teams in 5 years, including the Lions, Falcons, and now the Texans. He's not played horribly, but not near what he was supposed to be. When comparing their stats, Henderson just had a little bit more in most areas with less seasons played, as he missed this year with injury. Okudah has 177 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 interceptions where he returned 1 for a touchdown. Like I said, he's not great and not horrible, where there were way better options, including Henderson, who was picked later on in that very round. Another lopsided top 10 was in 2019 with a whopping 6 Pro Bowlers, but also some really bad picks. And my choice for the worst pick is Devin Bush, linebacker out of Michigan, picked 10th by the Steelers. His stats aren't horrible, but he's not anything great. He started 81 games where he recorded 399 tackles, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, and 2 interceptions. Obviously not horrible and one of the best players of the video so far, but nothing great. Right now he serves as a linebacker for the division rival Browns. This one is going to be short because he hasn't done anything notable and hasn't had any controversies, and overall it's just a quiet guy. And yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a short one. The 2018 draft is by far the easiest and only took me literally 1 glimpse to decide. Like, I opened up the Wikipedia page, I looked at it, and I said, oh. Probably doesn't help that there's a long line of yellow because this draft had 8 straight Pro Bowlers to start it off and many more down the line. It's funny to see the top 10 have Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Denzel Ward, Baker Mayfield, Roquan Smith, and more before you see him. This demon is the one who threw shade at everybody else picked above him, saying that they were each mistakes to be picked over him, and then continued to suck. I think we all know who I'm talking about. Josh Rosen, Cardinals legend, hated among all. The 10th pick out of UCLA went to the Cardinals and continued to only play 3 years and also had 1 year missed. In those 3 years, he threw less yards than 21 quarterbacks only in this season with 2,864. He has almost hit a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio with 12 touchdowns to 21 interceptions, being historically bad. He never played more than 1 year with the team. And just to let everybody know, later on in this draft is a QB who is, I'd say, slightly better than him. Probably would have been a little bit better of a touch. And that is going to be the 2-time MVP, Lamar Jackson. Almost 3 VP, looking like he might go to the Super Bowl. Rosen is one of the biggest busts in NFL history, and I assume that he's the worst we'll see today, especially because him and Evan Neal are the 2 guys that have a literal low-light reel of them. Rosen isn't doing horrible in life right now, though. He did attend UCLA again, getting his degree, and honestly, he's not looking too bad these days. Alright, back to the light side of the forest is the 2017 class with some absolute hits on the first 10, including Patrick Mahomes, Myles Garrett, and Christian McCaffrey. Lucky for Mitchell Trubisky, this video is not based off of the worst pick, because he was picked before Patrick Mahomes, who's one of the greatest QBs of all time. And Trubisky is currently serving as a professional backup, but he did have some good seasons started out, even making the Pro Bowl. But today my choice is going to be John Ross, wide receiver out of Washington, drafted by the Bengals. I chose Ross because while he had some production, including a 7-touchdown season in 2018 and a 500-yard season in 2019, he's been extremely inconsistent, and it's not all his fault. Ross was very injury prone and played only 38 games in a 6-season span. While he was low on the depth chart for his rookie season, he was injured through his entire career. He went from team to team each time going on the IR, never making much of an impact. Overall, Ross has had a rough career, plagued with injuries, a sad tale of never being good enough and not being able to live up to the expectations that when we think that he is. He gets hurt. Just an injury-plagued year, and, I mean, you gotta feel bad for the guy. The 2016 top 10 would make new fans perplexed and make vets feel like unks because we have prime Zeke and prime Carson Wentz. We're getting into the years where Father Time has disagreed with these players, and it's sad to see. Anyway, this pick is pretty easy because with the 10th pick, the Giants chose Eli Apple, cornerback out of Ohio State. Nobody likes this guy, and he went from acting like one of the best corners in the league to somebody that barely made the Chargers depth chart this year. By the way, when I say that he's hated, his own teammates hated him. Also, the third guy, I forgot about him. He is the third guy who had a literal lowlight reel of him, which you're watching right now, of him just getting burned by everybody throughout his entire career. That's wild. This man has been passed around more than a football thrown to an average wide receiver who obviously burned him in some way. Eli Apple stayed in the league. He doesn't have a season with more than 2 interceptions, 6 seasons with 0 interceptions, half a sack, 3 fumbles, and 6 teams. All of those stats add up to a number lower than the amount of temper tantrums that he's had and the amount of fights he's almost gotten into. Apple is truly arrogance in a bottle that pirates throw into the water trying to contact people, but it doesn't make it because nobody wants it. Much like the apple that fell very far from the tree of the NFL skill talents. And he just keeps rolling down that tree, man. Getting worse every year. The 2015 class is a sad one for Unks because this is the one where a lot of players start retiring in the top 10. A lot of the players that were picked in the top 10 are gone, like Todd Gurley or Vic Beasley. Some are old and beginning to decline, like Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. And some are friends with Father Time, like Leonard Williams and Dante Fowler, who are both having great seasons. Overall, this is also where I start to see people that I don't really know well. Anyways, let's talk about our bust of the 10. Kevin White, wide receiver, West Virginia, 7th pick by Chicago. Also, fun fact, this is Kaiser White's brother. It's kind of cool. This was a tough choice, honestly, because Eric Flowers was also a choice, somebody who never became a star and was a backup for a lot of his career. Kevin White, however, was a whole other disaster. White was never healthy, suffering for, oh god, this is going to take a second. A shin in 2015 preseason where he sat out. Re-stressed shin in 2015 season leading to surgery and the PUP list. Fibia in 2016 after 4 games leading to IR. Shoulder blade in 2017 week 1 leading to IR. No production in 2018 after not having 5th-year option signed. Cut by the Cardinals after sitting out in 2019. On and off San Francisco's practice squad for 3 straight weeks in 2020. Put on COVID list that same year. Cut that same year. On and off New Orleans practice squad in 2021. Put on the IR in 2022. On and off the practice squad in 2022. Then cut in 2022 where he retired. I'm gonna need a sip of water if I'm not careful. A mix of horrible injuries and a lack of production killed his career, and he never really found a home. A sad story about somebody who had so much potential. White played 27 games where he caught 28 balls off of 57 targets for 397 yards and 0 touchdowns. Overall, while he was injured, he was just not that good, which forced him to go into retirement. Oh man. The final of this video, and I'm sad to see it go, is actually pretty fun. We're gonna end this off we're gonna end this one off with a bang, however. Well, we should have, because I could have ended this video with talking about somebody who got caught with 156.9 pounds of marijuana and had 5 years of prison. But no. The Cleveland Browns, the team that has always sucked and forever will suck, had to take Justin Gilbert, cornerback, Oklahoma State, with the 8th pick. All the other story would have been cool, and this one is just boring. I'm Man of Honesty, and I have to talk about the worst of the 10. Going from druggie to druggie, we are going to talk about Gilbert, who was a career backup and never wanted by a team. Gilbert only made it through 3 seasons before not being able to find a team, even after using performance enhancers. We're on some sucky Jimmy G level here. Gilbert played 35 games where he only had 42 tackles and a 23-yard pick 6. That's it. Nothing other stat on defense. Nothing. He was a decent kick returner, I guess, getting 15 for 408 yards, which is pretty good. But he really wasn't anything too good. And I really wish that I could have told the other guy's story, but we're not going to, because I don't want to. I want you guys to get baited. Sadly, though, we will have to end off this video with a little bit of a boring note, but that is going to have to end it. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you come back for another video. This took me probably it's going to take me like 5 hours to make, 5.5, 6. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe so that I can keep doing these. If you have any suggestions for videos, be sure to leave them in the comments. I already have a list going. These videos take a really long time, so please like it. And enjoy. Goodbye, and look at this cool thumbnail.
How long? You know when you're gonna come in?
Nobody will never, ever really know. Because the more you know, the more you know that you don't know shit. Niggas will never run out of shit.